And we're going to do the frame and the door. We're going to do it with the brush, and we're using latex. It's a little bit more of a sheen than eggshell, and we're using a lighter color, so you can see the difference between the color that we are using versus the color that we are covering up. This is kind of like a Navajo white. This is more of a true eggshell looking white. So we're going to start with this. We're not going to leave any brush marks. We're going to do it smooth. Painting the whole inside of the house with nothing but a roller and a brush. You lose a lot more when you spray, and this way we can control the brush and still get all the nice looking fake wood grain in the door and everything. So we'll get moving here. What you want to do is just put, I'm using a Purdy synthetic brush. P-U-R-D-Y is the name of it. It's a pretty good brush. I've been using it a lot. And what I'm just going to do is I'm going to brush in the same direction as the wood grain would be, which is up and down on here. I've already gotten the outside between the wall and the door frame. I've already done that when I did the when I was cutting in the walls. So what we're just going to do is get paint on here. Might want to put it on a little heavy in some spots, because sometimes if you're painting with a brush over a darker color, you might need to put it on real thick. Otherwise, when it dries, it's kind of look thin. And so just put it on the face kind of thick. And what you'll do is, when you're done with the little area, you're just going to lightly run the brush down in the direction that the wood grain would be, which is up and down on here. And with a dark color like this, sometimes it'll show through a little bit when it dries. You just lightly brush over it again using the same directional, and that will get you all covered up. Putting it a little thick because I know sometimes it'll want to show through, because this is a darker color. I'm going to take it down to here. And then when you're done, you're not going to have the brush marks. You're not going to have any indication that you would have brushed this versus spraying it if you're doing it right. And you're not having to put it on as thick as they do with the sprayer. That's the other thing. Let's do the bottom here. I haven't done the baseboard, between the baseboard and the floor yet on these baseboards. That's coming up after I finish the door frames and doors. I'll do that. If you get a little bit on the side, just go ahead, like along this face edge, just go ahead and run your brush along there, which is fine. That'll smooth anything out so that it doesn't dry and leave a lump there if you don't have time to smooth it out before you paint it. And then we're going to go across the top here. Keep touching up with it as it's drying, because then you're going to start leaving brush marks. Just let it dry, and after it's finished drying, then if you have any spots, go over it then. But if you're trying to touch up tacky paint, you're going to leave streaks and you're going to leave brush marks, and it's going to look like hell. So that's not what you want to do. If you got to leave it a little thick, not a problem, because you're going to be smoothing it out anyways. It's not a big deal. You don't have to do it fast. Just work at your own speed. If you spill any paint, get yourself a little wet paper towel, or put a piece of plastic or cardboard under there. And I just take it under my finger. I always come clean up afterwards. On here, these floors, I'm not too worried about it. I'll just take a razor knife on there. I'm usually pretty good at not spilling or leaving too many marks. I just come up with a razor blade or a wet cloth afterwards, and I'll hit it and get all the spots cleaned up. Not a big deal. It comes off easy off this floor, so I'm not concerned. We got that done. The face of the door frame. Now let's work towards the inside. What you want to do is pick yourself an edge. Do an edge. Start with the edge and work on that. And then fill in the flat spots. Because if you try to do the whole door frame at one time, sometimes it gets a little out of hand and you start leaving streaks because you're trying to cover too much area at one time. Just take your time and pick a little bit at a time. Take it piece by piece so that you're not rushing yourself and trying to beat the paint drying. It's just, you know. At the same time when you're doing this, you're going to open the door, give yourself a little bit there, room there, and you can do the face your board on the inside. We can do that at the same time because we're going to be doing it anyway. It's all going to be the same color, so it's not a big deal. It's just that how much you want to tackle it at one time. So, and then we got a little here, no big deal. And almost done with it. Let's turn on the door. Right. Like I said, don't worry about how long it takes you. Maybe the first couple of them, it's going to take you a little bit longer till you get the feel of it. And then once you get the feel for it, you've done a few of them, you'll be on your way. It's just that, you know, haste makes mistakes sometimes. So, all right. So we got this. And don't forget to smooth everything out. Just keep repeating that process of smoothing it out after every stroke, you know, or every couple strokes. That way, you know that it's easy to miss certain spots, but if you get in the habit of just constantly smoothing it out after you're painting it, then you won't have that problem because you'll just be in, you know, it'll just be a habit. Okay, I'll put it on a little thick here. And what we're going to do is we're just going to hit these panels first. Let me turn this, let me close this a little bit. So we're going to have to match all these different directional grains. We're going to have to do it all together in order for us to make this thing look right. So now that these sections are done, when these are all finished, then we'll be working on the outside edges. And of course, this will be here to here. This will be down, you know. So that's the whole idea behind it. We just got to keep it uniform. It's extra work, but that's just the way things work. That's the way you got to do it. You know? Doing the whole inside of my house, and it's a lot of work, but you know, I'd rather do it myself. Number one, you save money, and number two, you get it done the way you want it done. And you know, not saying that there aren't good painting companies out there, but my father owned one for many years, and I worked as one, so I'm picky. And if I'm going to have it done, I'm going to do it the way I want it done myself. So that's just the way it is. You know. All right. So these take a little bit more effort, but a little bit more paint. We'll just go through here, and then I usually do one direction on these. You can do one and then halfway up, however you want to do it. And like I said, we'll get these frames straight. We'll get these all smoothed out, then we'll do this. These up and down sections from the top and bottom. And to make sure we didn't get too much in there, we'll just hit here. And remember, we're doing the outside at the same time. Okay, that looks good. Now we'll go to the next one. And you can use the whole brush. You don't have to just wet the end, and the paint's gonna wick its way up towards the top of the brush. And when you push along here this way, you're pulling it out of the end of the brush, so it doesn't build up in there and start leaking all over the place because you're using only the tip. So in these spots, use the whole brush, and you'll get all that extra paint out of them, so it's not such a deal. It doesn't make a mess on you. And get if you're right-handed, left-handed, do whatever. Start getting ambidextrous with this, and you can use both your hands certain times, because when you're doing baseboards and stuff, or you're in a bad spot, a lot of times you'll have to use your other hand. And so, you know, just get it used to working and get good with it so you can use it. Okay. All right. Let's get that smoothed out. All right. Let's take this. All right. There we go. And when you move the paint into an area like this, just whisk it in the direction of the grain, or the fake grain, or whatever you call it. Now we've got the bottom one, so we can hit here. All right. My son-in-law did took off all of his doors, and he did inside of his house. Used a lot of paint because he sprayed them, put them in the garage. He had to take all the hinges off, tape the door handles and everything like that, and save a lot of time by just doing it by hand here. I don't take the door handles off. I don't tape the door handles. I don't tape the hinges. I paint right around them. You get a little bit on there, boom, you can wipe it off right away, and you know. It takes a lot of time to do the taping and all the other stuff, and that could be time that you're spending, you know, just getting it done. So you get a little bit better at it, then you won't have to worry about doing all this taping and all that stuff, because that's just more time, and it gives you an excuse to get better at it, because you're going to be spending a lot of time doing it if you're going to be doing this. So there's no reason that you can't get good at it. Enough time, enough practice. I didn't do this for a long time, and and I do it when I have to, so it's not like I do it every day. And if I did, I'd probably be a lot faster at it, but I'm probably about 10 doors into the house, so I've gotten a little practice in the last couple weeks. When I have time, I paint. So if I'm going to do it myself, I got to do it on my own timeline. There's no reason to be in a hurry, too much of a hurry when you're painting, because it'll show. Don't put yourself on such a strict timeline that once you start, you won't be able to meet it. And if you get to that point where you need to really, then bring in some extra hands. But then again, when you bring in somebody else to paint, and it's either not their house, or they're one of the types of people that just like to get it done and get going, then you're probably not going to be too happy with the work. So you'll be back to square one at that point. Don't bring people in to do work if you're picky, and you've given yourself a real tight schedule that's just not going to be able to be met. Oh, okay. Now we've got all 6 panels, 6 frames done in the panel. Now what we can just do is basically start at the bottom and just go along the edge here where you see the 2 faults. Let's dry it up. Wood grains meet. We're just going to go in that direction and stay in there. Like I said, anything I get on the floor, I'm going to wipe it up.
Not a big deal. This stuff comes up real easy when it hasn't set. And also watch yourself so that you don't stick your hands in your own fresh paint, because I'm good at that. Oh, and I lean on it too. I lean in it real well too. I'm real good at that. So here we go. We're just going to do is just kind of brush it, feather it in the direction that it needs to be. And you'll see the paint basically just fade right into the grain. And then we'll do the same thing up here. If you get any up there, just do the same thing. So we've got that section done. And then we'll just do this. We'll just hit the middle. I'll hit this. I'll just put it on kind of thick here. And this will give you a chance to hit anything in your frame edge that you may have missed. And it'll stick out pretty good. And if you go down in your section you just painted in, no biggie. You're just going to go right along there because it's still relatively wet. Just go up here and hit that right there on the edge. And do the same thing going down. And you get real good at it. Yeah, so look around these corners. Sometimes you'll get some puddling because you've been kind of slopping it around. Not a problem. Just smooth them out. Not a big deal. Don't stress out if you got to go over an area because you splattered it on there or something. Just smooth it out. Let it dry. If you got a problem when it dries, well, you can work it out. Usually you won't. Most of this newer paint's pretty forgiving. If you're using an enamel, a little bit different. Like a thinner based enamel, they're a little bit different. But with a lot of this latex and stuff, it's really easy. As you go along, just smooth it out. But always kind of keep an eye on the corners of the frames, because you will get puddling sometimes. And you don't want some big old blob sitting in there when you get down. You're like, oh yeah, look at this door, it looks really good. And it's like, big old blob there, shit. So, alright. Now we get a little hair there. Just you mess it up, you just go down here and hit it. And then we'll, like I said, we'll go around the door frame, the door handle and the hinges and stuff like that. It just takes a little bit extra time, but whatever. That's the way life is. It's just more of a challenge for you, you know? It makes you better at your craft. Okay. You're going to get this done and you're going to go, yeah, I did a really good job on that door. And then you're going to go, yeah, I've only got 30 more to go and it's going to be a piece of cake. Don't look at it as the how many you got left to go. You just take it you just think about the one you're working on. Don't worry about the rest, because it ain't going to make it any faster or slower. It's just gonna, it is what it is. You got to do them, and the only way they're going to get done is if you do them. Notice your brush starts getting hard. Your brush starts getting stiff. Go out and wash it out. Don't mess around with it, because once it gets real stiff and hard, then all it's going to do is just start leaving marks. It's not pliable anymore. So go wash it out, come back. If you go through and start, if you decide to take a break and you're going to set your brush down, get a Ziploc bag and stick it in it. It'll keep it from drying, and then seal it around it, and it'll keep it from drying anymore, so that it won't be a hard mess when you get back and start painting again. And you can put like a bag over your bucket or whatever you're holding your paint into to keep it from drying, as skinning over. Now, got all that. Now we're down this end here near the door handle.
almost got it done on one side. We got the other side to do too. Okay, and we got a little thing there, so we'll just do that. Almost there. All right, and I hit my fingernail on there. That was a good deal. Oh, when I do it good, I do it good. If I'm going to screw up, I'm going to screw up good. And that's what I usually do. So, if I'm going to mess it up, I'm going to do a good job at it. It's just the way I work. And here we go into the home stretch. And don't forget, if you get a little bit of cross there, just hit it. And it'll blend right in. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Oops, see, there's a booger there. If I get a booger there, I'm taking it off. And I'll smooth it out. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. We have the door. The 6-panel door and frame.